Fertig with McCormick Distributing, and we are going to go through step-by-step process, daily process of a broaster pressure fryer. Okay? So, first thing in the morning, I'm going to come in before the broasters turn on, pull this pan. I'm going to pull out my filter pan, take this top cover, wipe that down with a dry cloth. We're going to pull the filter weight out. Okay, so first thing in the morning before the broasters turn on, we're going to pull out this filter paper. This is catching all your sediment out of the oil. We're going to clean this out every morning. That's about as good as I'm going to get it right now. So putting it back together, you can see where the screen lines up. It goes over that. Our filter, make sure the edges are flipped over or flipped up. It goes down. Your filter weight then goes on top of it. And make sure that you don't get one of these edges caught underneath, because that's all of that sediment that I just got all over the floor is going to end up going down into that pump. Okay? Also on here, if you ever notice that the broaster's leaking on the floor, you're getting a little oil leaking, if it starts doing that, you know this O-ring is bad. Pull that one off and slide the new one up. Once you use that one, you need to call and order a couple more and put them on the broaster. Okay? As you can see, the lid, by the way, has this lip on the back, so you know this side is always facing out towards you. And then make sure it's seated in up there. Okay. Throughout the day, you want to watch your condensation pan. Make sure you're not getting too much liquid in. This is 90% water. It can go right down the drain. Okay. So the next step we're going to do, and this is hot, so we're not going to completely pull it apart today, but you can see this is your O-ring. If that fails, you're not building pressure. You're not pressure cooking your chicken. Then it strictly becomes a fryer.
That's right. Okay.
So you have an O-ring tool, which we always keep up on the hood. The round end is to go underneath and pull that O-ring off. The square end is to get inside of that groove and scrape out any crumbs, anything that builds up in there. If you don't do that, you're going to ruin your O-ring. That's what's going to knock them out.
Makes sense.
And then also you're going to want to scrub this with something not real abrasive. If you need to, there's 2 thumb screws on the back that I can't get because they haven't been taken off. But a straight screwdriver,
okay.
you can undo those 2 thumb screws. This whole top pops off, so you can clean these. You can see how this has grease buildup on it now.
Yes.
This will slide up, this whole piece here will slide up over this handle,
okay.
So you can scrub all that up and clean it.
Sounds good.
Next thing, if this lid ever gets to the point where it's not sliding freely, it's hitting over on this end. There's a little plastic cap here you pop off. In an Allen wrench, you just give it about a quarter of a turn, and it'll lower that leg, which raises this up so it slides smoothly. Roasted chicken, we are not trying to put a bunch of breading on the chicken.
Okay.
It's a light dusting is all it is. In fact, when it comes out of the breading, you see everything's covered. I'm going to dust it all off.
Okay.
And then I'm going to quarter my pan. Breast, thighs. By breading in advance, although we just have a dusting of breading on here, if I go straight into the broaster right now, a lot of that breading is going to fall off into the oil, as you saw when we just dumped it,
Yes.
and it's going to break down your oil faster.
Okay.
Again, in this pan, I can put 32 pieces in here. This will also fit 32 pieces of chicken. So when I'm all done here, you can see the little bit of breading I have in there versus the whole bucket. Now, this cannot sit out.
Okay.
I just put fresh chicken inside of here. The lid goes on this, straight to the refrigerator. Now that we have the date of July 30th and the time of 11:13, technically we do not want to use this chicken until noon. Very earliest we want to use it is noon. So I'm going to go ahead, take a glove off again. I'm going to set my time on my broaster to 10 minutes and 45 seconds. Temperature set at 360 degrees. The other feature with the broaster is auto comp. Auto comp compensation. So if your chicken comes out of the cooler and it's super cold and it drops your oil temperature, although we're programmed at 10 minutes and 45 seconds, the machine automatically realizes the oil temperatures and adjusts the time accordingly. You're really not going to see it unless you sit there and watch it with the stopwatch, how long it takes. That 10:45 could take you 11 and a half minutes. In the flip side, if you're doing back-to-back loads and you're running hot,
Okay.
that 10:45 could drop down to 10 minutes. So the machine's automatically going to compensate for it. Okay, so to load the broaster, I'm going to go ahead and put my handle in, put another glove on. So when I'm dropping my chicken, I'm going to go 12, 3, 6, and 9 when I'm dropping it.
Okay.
Okay, so if I'm doing 8 breasts, I put my first one in at 12, my second one in at 3, third one in at 6, fourth one at 9. And then I'm going to kind of stagger it from that point. Once I get my 8 pieces in, I'm going to take the handle and shake it just to make sure it's not sticking. And then I'll move on to my thighs, same with the legs, then with the wings. Biggest to smallest. Breast, then thighs, then legs, then wings. Now if I had a full load, I'm just going to give it a little shake just to make sure nothing's sticking together. If you're doing 32 pieces, because you're doing a catering or what have you, you're going to shake it like that. Give it a little bit so it's not shaking, or not sticking. Pull my lid closed, shut it, hit close, and then the timer begins. Now that the broaster's done, it's beeping at us telling us that it's done. I'm going to release the pressure, and you'll notice the pressure gauge when you're cooking, it should be somewhere between 10 and 15 psi.
Okay.
If you're below that, you don't have enough product, number one, or you have a bad O-ring. So when I open this, 3 to 5 seconds to open it.
Okay.
You don't just slam it open. That'll blow out your check valve. That's going to be a service call. Open my lid. I always tap it a couple times to get whatever excess condensation I can off of the lid before I push it back. Give it another quick shake. I'll let it sit here for however long you want. Let the excess oil drain off. Dump it into my pan. Now at this point, when I take it out to serve it, or if I'm putting it in a box, I always want bone side down. I don't want this side up on my breast.
Okay.
With my thigh, you can see how that looks versus how that looks. That's your bone side. So that bone side always down. My wings, I flip that way. They just present better in the case. This chicken is also going to continue to cook now for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
So you have a perfect holding cabinet designed to hold it. You can actually, at about 2 o'clock, cook chicken, put it in your perfect hold. Right now you're at 172 degrees.
Right.
You want it to be at 152 degrees. This will hold your chicken for 3 to 4 hours like it just came out of the broaster. 152 degrees, why that's ideal. Anything below that, you can build bacteria. Anything above that, you're cooking. So that's ideally where we want to be. Chicken tenders are directly the opposite of what we talked about before.
Okay.
We're not going to bread them in advance. These are a bread drop item. For the slurry, we'll call it, for your tenders,
Okay.
we're going to use 1 gallon of cold water, 2 scoops of breading.
What is the flour breading name, I guess?
What's that?
The breading name, is it cooked fry?
Is Broaster Coat and Fry,
Okay.
yes. So I'm going to put 2 scoops in there, in this bucket. I'm just going to leave some breading there. So I'm just going to do 8 to 10 of these.
What does it look like? Don't mind filming.
So breading, I'm just going to mix them around here. And if you would, slide that pan over for me, would you? Take my tenders, put them in our wash. They're wet. Pulling them back out, going right back into the slurry again, or into the breading again. But you notice how I told you we wanted it tacky with your genuine broasted chicken. With your tenders, because we went from breading into a wash, back into breading, we have the extra moisture content that we're looking for here. Again, with the chicken tenders, 360 degrees. Double click my button so I can set my time. I'm 3 minutes and 45 seconds for the tenders. Hit time again, I'm ready to go. Now putting my tenders in, I'm going to lay those flat on top of the oil as well. I don't want to throw those in a clump. Now that that's done, I'm just going to give those a quick shake. Start it at this point. I'll give my broaster a quick wipe down. So again, 3 to 5 seconds to open the broaster. Quick shake. You definitely see the difference in the two in color versus bread and drop and the breading sitting on there for a little bit.